His Excellency, Mr. Nawaf Hashim Al-Sada, Assistant Undersecretary of International Cooperation of the Ministry of Finance and National Economy for the Kingdom of Bahrain, and the patron of our special event, Dr. Ludger Shuknet, the Vice President Corporation Secretary of the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, AIIB, our distinguished panelists, participants, ladies and gentlemen, greetings. On behalf of the Asian Investment Infrastructure Bank, the Ministry of Finance and National Economy, and the E-Government and Information Authority, I would like to welcome you all for this lead-up event, Series 4, titled Investing in Technology-Enabled Infrastructure, with focus on Bahrain First Cloud Policy. Without further ado, I would like to proceed with our program of today. It's our great pleasure to introduce our first keynote speaker, Mr. Nawaf Hashim Al-Sada, the Assistant Undersecretary for International Cooperation and the Ministry of Finance and National Economy. Prior to his contribution as the National Revenue Bureau, which he was appointed as director for that organization, he was also he contributed in the Enterprise Tax Directorate and the Ministry of National Economy, as well as he was responsible for lots of other activities that helped in establishing various departments within the Ministry of Economy. He represented the Kingdom of Bahrain and international events, as well as Mr. Al-Sada holds an MBA from the University of Kent, as well as a bachelor degree in electrical engineering of the University of Bahrain. Without further, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Nawaf Hashim Al-Sada.
Thank you, Abdullah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Your Excellency, Dr. Ludger, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon or good evening, depending on where you are. It gives me a great honor to be here with you today to deliver these opening remarks with His Excellency Dr. Ludger, Vice President and Corporate Secretary of the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, AIIB. This is the first event we co-organize with the bank in the Kingdom of Bahrain, and I hope it will be the first of many collaborations. This lead-up event is one of a series that has been taking place in the region in connection with the bank's 6th annual meeting of the Board of Governors, which will be hosted virtually by the United Arab Emirates from the 26th to the 28th of October 2021 under the theme Investing Today, Transforming Tomorrow. The objective of today's lead-up event is to introduce AIIB's work to relevant stakeholders in Bahrain, showcase Bahrain's experience and best practices when it comes to investing in technology-enabled infrastructure, and explore possible areas for future cooperation. Attracting foreign direct investment is one of the strategic objectives of Bahrain's Vision 2030, which aims to create a more diverse economy and a sustainable future. Despite the challenges of the pandemic, Bahrain's FDI inflows increased by about $1 billion in 2020, according to the latest World Investment Report from the UN Conference of Trade and Development, UNCTAD. Much of this was attributed to the advanced ICT infrastructure the government and private sector have invested in, demonstrating the efficacy of Bahrain's ongoing digital transformation and the remarkable progress we have achieved through the cloud-first policy. Bahrain's internationally competitive business environment, in which the technology sector plays a key role, supports national efforts to turn the country into one of the easiest and best value locations in the world to set up and operate a business. We have now reached an advanced stage in our digital transformation journey, with nearly all business processes, from establishment to employing staff to litigation and more, being digitalized, ensuring a seamless experience. One of the global tech giants, Amazon Web Services, AWS, already use Bahrain as their regional hub. This reflects the huge potential of our kingdom as a preferred place to do business. Backed by our advanced ICT infrastructure, strategic regional location, skilled local workforce, and business-friendly environment, Bahrain is poised to continue on this growth trajectory. Long before the pandemic, Bahrain was recognized as a regional pioneer in the e-government field. As one of the first countries in the region to adopt a government-wide digitization program, Bahrain was well prepared to face the challenges brought on by the crisis. While the pandemic has accelerated the digital transformation plans of governments around the world, in Bahrain, it highlighted the importance of continuing along our predetermined path to migrate to the cloud. The Bahraini government is committed to continuously modernize the ICT sector and is leading by example in using cloud computing services to reduce costs, increase security and productivity, and deliver excellent services to our constituents. Bahrain's cloud-first policy, adopted in 2017, allowed the government to redirect IT infrastructure investment. Working with Amazon Web Services, we became the first country in the Middle East to adopt such a policy and one of the first globally. This was supported by an excellent legislative infrastructure for adopting new technologies, which ensured that we could embrace the latest advancements quickly and efficiently. We also had a successful experience with activating the national cloud for the government services sector. Migrating to the cloud helped reduce IT operation costs and enabled further protection of government data. It is continuing to help us achieve the objectives of our National Strategic Plan and the Government Action Plan. As a result, Bahrain had in place the digital foundations necessary to face the challenges of the pandemic and enabled business to function normally. Some of the kingdom's digital interventions during the pandemic included migrating approximately 80 to 90% of the most commonly used government systems and services to the cloud, enabling scalability and reducing deployment times, introducing more than 45 electronic services which require no physical visits to government premises, enabling almost 70% of government employees to work remotely from home to ensure business continuity, reinforcing 24/7 surveillance and helping thousands of students continue their studies online by revamping the educational portal and increasing its capacity by hosting it on the cloud. Although challenging, the pandemic has served as a catalyst for change and greater digital transformation across a range of sectors, particularly financial services. The e-services statistical report covering the months from April to July 2020, recorded a 20-fold surge in government smartphone application usage and found more than 600,000 government transactions were processed, with online payments exceeding BD 36 million across all digital channels. The spike in digital payments extends beyond government applications. Due to social distancing measures, many people have now embraced e-commerce and e-banking as their preferred methods of conducting financial transactions. With online and contactless payments continuing to gain traction, Bahrain is edging ever closer to becoming a cashless society. We gladly share our experience during these challenges times so that other organizations and governments can benefit from our unique insight into the use of cloud-based technologies. I wish you all a productive and useful event and look forward to further enhancing our relationship with the bank. Thank you very much.
Your Excellency, thank you very much for your very informative keynote speech. And with further delay, we go for Dr. Ludger Shuknet. It's a great pleasure and pride to have him as a keynote speaker. Dr. Shuknet is the Vice President of the Corporate Secretary for the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank. He's also responsible for AIIB relationship with its members and the Board of Governors for other aspects of government, including admission and of the new members. Before joining the AIIB, he holds important leadership posts in national and international level. Most recently, he was a visiting professor at the Lee Kuan Yew School in Singapore in public policy. Prior to his role as well, he was the Deputy Secretary General for the Organization of Economic and Cooperation Development, OECD, and he was the Chief Economist Director for the Germany Federal Finance Ministry. He has executive experience work with international finance institutions, including International Monetary Fund, IMF, and the World Bank. He also acted as the chief negotiator for Germany in the funding of AIIB, making him as the architect of the funding of AIIB drafting of its architectural agreement and article agreements. In addition to the Shuknet co-chair of the Infrastructure Investment Group for the G20, he holds also the Economics and Load Wing, Maxwell University in Munich, Germany, and he's also holding a Master in Economics at the George Mason University of the United States of America. He holds PhD in Economics, as well as more advanced experience in so many areas. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me to welcome the keynote speaker, Dr. Ludger Shuknet. Dr. Shuknet, microphone, please.
Yeah. Thank you, and good afternoon from the AIIB. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you to the fourth lead-up event to the AIIB annual meetings with the title Investing in Technology-Enabled Infrastructure and a focus on Bahrain's cloud-first policy. And I'm delighted to join His Excellency Mr. Nawaf Hashim Asda, Assistant Undersecretary for International Cooperation Affairs of the Ministry of Finance and National Economy, to open this event. The Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank began operations in 2016 with 57 founding members, and today we've grown to over 100 members from around the globe. In just 5 years, we have invested in 138 projects totaling $27.5 billion. We are proud of our AAA rating from the leading credit agencies, which is the industry recognition of our sound financial standing. I would like to emphasize that these achievements would not have been possible without the support of our members. Bahrain joined the AIIB in 2018 and has since demonstrated commitment to multilateral governance and international standards. Bahrain's economy and pivotal geographical location offer a unique set of characteristics that resonate with AIIB's corporate strategy and create opportunity for great synergy. We approved the AIIB corporate strategy in 2020, and this strategy commits the bank to add value in green infrastructure, because climate change is one of the most pressing global challenges of this century. Add value in connectivity and regional cooperation, so as to enhance our members' competition, productivity, and growth by increasing the flow of people, goods, and capital. The third element of this strategy is technology-enabled infrastructure, so that when applied effectively, we can improve traditional infrastructure by streamlining processes and enhance economic and social benefits. And finally, it's about private capital mobilization. Private capital is essential to address the vast infrastructure financing needs that far exceed the fiscal capacity of governments and balance sheets of MDBs. Today, we look at best practices in digital infrastructures through Bahrain's cloud-first policy, a forward-thinking ecosystem that allows governments to streamline service provision. We will touch upon Bahrain's solid financial sector services and progressive regulatory environment. We will also discuss opportunities offered by Bahrain's central Gulf location and active links to the rest of the Middle Eastern region. As the first event we co-organized, I hope today's event will be the first of many exchanges. I look forward to your participation to the 6th annual meeting of the Board of Governors of AIIB. The event will be chaired by the United Arab Emirates and will be held online on October 26 to 28, 2021. As the flagship event of the bank, it brings together thousands of delegates from all over the world, including finance ministers from AIIB members, representatives from partner institutions, civil society organizations, and experts in infrastructure development. Today's lead-up event represents an important milestone in our annual meeting engagements, and I sincerely hope it will be a fruitful occasion to enhance mutual understanding. And I wish you all a productive session and look forward to working with you on many joint projects in the future.
Thank you, Dr. Edgar, for this amazing highlight that was in your speech. And we will move now to the next session, which is our panel session. At this point, we would proceed with this 4 topics. But first of all, please welcome with me the panelists that's going to join me, Dr. Khalid Al-Mutawa, Vice Chief Executive Operation Governance at the Information and E-Government Authority, Kingdom of Bahrain, Mr. Najib Haider, Director General, the Banking Department, Region 2, Asia Infrastructure Investment Bank, and Mr. Razi Amin, Group Chief Information Officer, National Bank of Bahrain, Kingdom of Bahrain, and Mr. Adil Yusuf Al-Gallaf, Director of Tax Information at the National Bureau for Revenue, Kingdom of Bahrain. Welcome to this panel. And we will be highlighting in this panel discussion about 4 topics. And the first topic will be talking about IT infrastructure. And I would like to start my question with a question to Mr. Najib Haider. While green infrastructure, as highlighted by Dr. Ludger Shuknet, is aiming for efficiency, effectiveness, and cost optimization in service delivery with AIIB vision and strategy towards ICT infrastructure. How can AIIB be part of advancing green infrastructure solution for the region? Mr. Najib, mic is yours. Microphone.
Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Al-Hamid, for that very interesting question. Let me start by highlighting our institutional motto, which is lean, clean, and green. So green is core to everything that AIIB finances. Dr. Ludger had highlighted our 4 thematic priorities: sustainable infrastructure, so green infrastructure, private capital mobilization, connectivity, and technology-enabled infrastructure. So the last one, which is linked with our most recently approved strategy for digital infrastructure, cuts across all the thematic priorities. So it's very essential that we focus on technology-enabled infrastructure. And we have set ourselves a very ambitious target of climate financing by 2025 of 50%. So we're hoping from a business objective perspective that one of the targets we'll meet is that 50% of all our financings approved by 2025 will be climate finance oriented. And the way we intend to do this, in addition to using technology where we can, is to support our members and our clients in enhancement of their environmental and social risk management systems. So we have our own environmental and social risk management system, and that provides us the institutional framework on approaching all our investments. And we work with our clients in ensuring that the investments we're making are in line with this system. We also support upstream activities where our members are building their environmental and social risk management systems. So we support them by providing financing for their activities. And also we believe the best way of demonstrating how we work together and how we support our members is by actually transacting, by doing deals. So we've done a number of transactions that are focused on climate. So we've invested in bond portfolios. We want to make infrastructure as an asset class for the capital markets. And in doing so, we've invested in 3 bond portfolios. And also, very importantly, we're working with top-tier financial institutions for on-lending, institutions that are aligned with the AIIB in their approach to green infrastructure. And so we can expand our footprint by on-lending through these financial institutions. I could go on, but I think in the interest of time, I'll pass it back to you. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Najib, for your very informative answer. And this is actually taking me to the next question to Dr. Khalid Al-Tawal. Dr. Khalid, how can Bahrain Cloud First policy represent a forward-thinking ecosystem for unlimited potential with a great value to the region and international opportunities, as was also highlighted by Mr. Nawaf Sadeh?
Assalamu alaikum. First of all, thank you, Abdullah, for the question, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The Cloud First policy was not just a normal policy; it was a commitment from the government to change the way we want to operate our next generation infrastructure. Is a change to the way how we want to adopt new technologies and how we want to align with the 4th industrial generations sort of technology. When we started thinking about in 2016 about what we want to do in order to sustain the operation of our infrastructures with the high demand on technologies and using introducing new services, introducing new applications, looking for new opportunities that can support service delivery. There was a huge talk about how we can
conclude with an infrastructures that will look like an eco-friendly environment. At the same time, it will address the needs for the countries. And by identifying these opportunities, or by identifying these gaps, we found the opportunity on the cloud. And the answer was, we have to unlock the opportunities and explore international collaboration with service provider and look for new ways of operating our environment. And the answer was to go with the cloud. And from that day, we started drafting our cloud first policy, which alhamdulillah have left all the barriers and the challenges that will enable entities in the private sector and public sectors to go and embrace cloud. The talks with cloud providers was very interesting because Bahrain was not only limited to serve the countries, but to serve the entire regions. So when we thought about the cloud, it was not Bahrain in our mind, it was the entire region, and how we can Bahrain be part that will support the entire region in order to embrace the cloud and utilize advanced technology that run on the clouds. And from here, we start working with international community and international service provider. And there was many discussions. And as His Excellency, Mr. Sada highlighted, we had a collaboration with AWS, and they established a regional data center in Bahrain. But the forward thinking was not only to look at the infrastructures, but also to look at what will come as a new technology that will run on this infrastructure. So yes, we have embraced cloud, but that was not the end of the story. We are looking at advanced technology that can support introducing the new services to citizens. So we are now exploring opportunities in artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, blockchains that will help us to introduce services that was not possible before the cloud. Now, the power of high computing and the power of the cloud have helped us a lot on introducing advanced services. But I'm sure that there is many opportunities on the horizon that can come to Bahrain, where we can leverage it in order to introduce innovative and sustainable services that can support our nations and can advance the way we deliver services to public and to private sectors. And we believe that the cloud was a starting point, and it was a good starting point, but that will not be the end. I think the journey will still continue, and we are expecting a lot of opportunities that will come to Bahrain because of the changes on the commitment to change that country offer. And we have provided an excellent case studies of how Bahrain has embraced cloud and how they successfully migrated more than 80% of their workload to the cloud. We are a nation that have the readiness. We are the nation that have the capabilities to adopt new technologies. And we are very eager to see what are the opportunities that will come from our colleagues in the Asian Infrastructure Bank. And we are here to open our hand and welcome new opportunities. I think that the cloud first policy, as Mr. Hisham addressed, it was one of the policy that at the region levels first introduced. And I think globally, even we are first on the countries that introduce such policy. Thank you, Abdullah.
Dr. Khalid, I think well said, and thank you for highlighting those interesting points. And I will little bit go towards the second topic, which is connectivity and hosting. And I will actually address this question to Mr. Razi Amin. Location plays a vital role in connectivity and hosting. What can Bahrain's location, size, density, and technology literate community offer to the region, offer for the region connectivity and hosting in line with exploring the fourth industrial revolution technologies? Razi, microphone is yours.
Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon. Thank you for having me in this session. I think Bahrain's size and density and location gives Bahrain an advantage. You know, if you look at our infrastructure, if you look at our fiber connectivity, it's available across the country. If you look at the adoption of 5G, I think Bahrain was one of the leading countries that adopted the 5G network. Given the size of Bahrain, it becomes much easier for us. Bahrain becomes an agile to introduce any technology. So, and I think as His Excellency Mr. Sada showed, or as she at least said, that, you know, the pandemic was a great example, and I think it was a great test for us on how we adopted for new technologies, how we migrated our services from being physical to being, you know, virtual. How did we move to cloud in a quite, you know, short period of time? It's because of the advantage that Bahrain has when it comes to size, density, and, you know, location. If you look at the technology, you know, the technology literate society in Bahrain, we are really rich with that. The population, the people, the knowledge that we have in Bahrain makes it easier for us to adopt new technologies, and we have the right, you know, caliber. We have the right skill set in Bahrain that can help us to implement and innovate. I think we reached a point sometimes in Bahrain is that it's not about, you know, if you can do it. The question becomes when you can do it and what stops you from not doing it now.
Great answer, and I thank you very much for your thoughts, sharing your thoughts with us. And this is actually taking me to ask Mr. Najib again in another area, which is basically considering Bahrain as an excellent spot in the region. What AIIB represents in connectivity and hosting to strengthen the way forward?
Thank you. So connectivity is one of the 4 thematic priorities, as VP Ludger and I had mentioned earlier. And it's an overarching definition. And the idea is to increase the flow of people, goods, services, capital, and information across our member countries. There are challenges, and the pandemic has highlighted some of them. But what we can do is work with our members to minimize these disruptions and find opportunities where we can help our members to do so. And we create networks to support connectivity between global issuers and global investors when we talk about financing. And so we are committed to being a collaborative partner by supporting projects that complement cross-border connectivity and complement cross-border infrastructure. And we intend to generate direct measurable benefits in enhancing regional trade, investment, digital and financial integration across Asian economies and beyond Asia. And we have another business target of achieving 25 to 30% of all approved projects providing connectivity by 2030. It's an interesting and a challenging target, but it's one of the targets we're working towards. And we seem to be well on our way based on the pipeline of deals that we have. And Bahrain is an excellent spot in the region, given the ecosystems that the government is promoting in terms of digital connectivity. And we're hoping to work even more closely with the relevant ministries to progress connectivity-related infrastructure. Thank you.
Of course, Bahrain always a great spot for businesses. Thank you, Mr. Najib, for your insight and for this topic. Thank you very much. And I will move to the third topic, which is basically talking about regional digital cooperation. And my question here is to Mr. Adil Gallaf. Bahrain is an interactive and Bahrain is an active player in the regional cooperation. What are the key factors that can help practical regional digital cooperation? How can we really, if I phrase it right, how can we have really a practical regional digital cooperation? Mr. Adil, the microphone is yours.
Thank you, Abdullah. Good afternoon, and thank you for hosting me in this session. I think we are living in the era of digital interdependence. So there are several success factors that distinguish Bahrain as an active player in the digital cooperation. One of the major factors that Bahrain is a business-friendly and a regulated environment that directly support the growth of the digital hubs. And we have a lot of examples and initiatives like the FinTech Pay, FinHub 973, and also an example of the regulation is the Bahraini Data Protection Law. The second factor is, as Mr. Razi said, that Bahrain has a tech literate population. Young population, they are ready to face all digital challenges. They are ready to absorb all the new technologies that trends. The third factor is that Bahrain has major focus on cybersecurity, on data security, on data privacy, and all of that to ensure the citizens' trust. So one of the big initiative, or let's say biggest step that the government of Bahrain take in this direction is establishing the National Cybersecurity Center. This is a dedicated body to look after the nationwide cybersecurity. Also on the workforce, Bahrain has many nationwide initiatives to strengthen the digital capacity building. And one of the initiatives is Temkeen. Temkeen is a good example. The role of Temkeen is to develop the workforce skills and to provide professional training in the digital technology. I think because of all of these factors, Bahrain become a role model in the region, and it's always keen to share and to transfer the knowledge with the all relevant countries, and either in the region or even with the international organizations like the United Nations.
Excellent, excellent. If I look at the second part of it, which is I will ask Mr. Najib for how can AIIB benefit from Bahrain's skilled, experienced knowledge of the digital best practices, human capital, complemented by a well understanding of the region's culture.
Thank you. So I think the advantage Bahrain has is what you just mentioned, the skilled and experienced human capital base and culture. So what we would endeavor to benefit from is establishing cooperation and partnerships with local financiers. So partners, both sponsors of projects and also partners in the financing that we can provide, and we can work alongside those. And we would like to work with renowned firms in the digital economy. We'd like to work with the regulatory agencies and other stakeholders. And hopefully this will give the bank access to a strong knowledge base. This will be critical to help us build not only upstream knowledge, but to better structure financing solutions, as well as manage and predict risks. So that's something that we consider to be a very significant benefit of working with Bahrain and the government. This would also, in turn, we'd like to mobilize private capital on all the transactions that we work on as far as possible. So this would also give us the opportunity to work with private financial institutions and institutional investors. We do partner with other multilateral development banks where we can, and bilateral aid agencies, but the private sector is of extreme interest to us. And if we can mobilize other financiers, whether they're institutional or financial banks, that'll be very good. And we see this as an opportunity in working with Bahrain. According to Omdia's country outlook, Bahrain's international competitiveness is rapidly growing, which is excellent. And so we would like to work very closely with the local authorities, such as the Ministry of Transportation and Telecommunication, to support the development of the international connectivity in the digital infrastructure space. So those would be some of the things that we would like to do in Bahrain.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Mr. Najib. And I will highlight the next topic, which is here in terms of which is the capital mobilization. In terms of at the time of a global increased financial distress and economic downturns, what are the possible forms that AIIB can present for the region? This is my question to Mr. Najib.
Thank you again. Let me start by giving you a couple of examples of the transactions that we have worked in your region. So the first example is our anchor equity investment in a fund called the Aberdeen Standard Invest Corp Infrastructure Partners. It's located in Bahrain. It's a private equity investment, and the total fund size is expected to be $600 to $800 million US. And it's to support the PPP infrastructure projects in the GCC. We've partnered with Aberdeen Standard Investment Corp, which is Bahrain-based financial institution. So that's one example, and we did this, once despite COVID. So, and I'll go through some of the factors that were helpful in us managing this investment. And the other example that I would like to give, which is also in the region, in the Middle Eastern region, is the Oman Broadband Project, which is a senior debt investment of a transaction that we did pre-COVID, but we're working on supporting the project's expansion, which is happening now. What we've done in the period that's the last year and a half or two, which has been affected by COVID, is work with partners in our member countries where we're looking at projects. So we worked with local, well-reputed equity investors. We worked with top-tier banks, financial institutions, and we're employing the services of consultants where we can, because as you can imagine, it's very difficult to travel to engage with clients and stakeholders directly to physical meetings, but we're using digital infrastructure as much as possible. And it's not stopped our pipeline of projects. So we continue doing projects that are not only addressing COVID response, but also regular pipeline. So the two examples I gave, and there's many more outside the Middle Eastern region that we're working on. So in the private sector, that's what we're doing. And as the examples indicate, we can provide equity capital, we can provide senior debt, and we can look at all structures between these two forms of investment. So we can look at mezzanine financing, we can provide guarantees to support projects. So that's the private sector side. And in general, we'd like to bring in partners to all our financing. So we do up to 35% of the total investment size as our share, as a maximum. On the debt size
equity.
As equity. As equity as well. Also on the debt size, 35%. On the equity, it varies, but 35% would be an unusually large number. Usually we tend to be in the 10 to 15% range of the total equity if it's a fund investment. On the debt side, I meant 35% of total project cost is what we can do. Again, it'll depend on the size of the project. If the project is very large, we may not do the total 35%, but that's the target the maximum we can do. In terms of debt tenor, we can do a maximum of 18 years. We've done a couple of exceptions, beyond 18, but 18 is our maximum. So that's on the private sector side. Of course, AIIB can do sovereign guaranteed financing as well. And we've done quite a lot of that, not only over the past 2 years, but since inception. And you asked specifically about COVID, the times of that have been affected by COVID. So we haven't actually slowed down our activity. In fact, because we were responding to our members' requirements, supporting them through COVID, we actually did more projects last year than we did the previous year. So the reasons we've been able to do so is because we employ technology, because we're working with local governments, because we're working with top-tier financial institutions in the respective jurisdictions, and we're working with consultants, and of course, employing technology where we can. So those are some of the things that we've done, and so far it's worked very well. We're hoping the world will come out of COVID, and we're seeing signs of that in terms of the pipeline. And once we get back to business as usual, which may be some time from now, we'll hopefully look at more transactions in the region.
Perfect. I think well said, Mr. Najib, and I thank you for this amazing formative. I learned from you that you're already doing cooperation with Invescorp, which is based in Bahrain.
Yes.
This is an interesting one. The second thing that I've learned from you as well is that you are open for cooperation with the private sector, whatever it's related, up to 35% and also up to 18 years tenure, which is really interesting.
And in fact, if I may just highlight, if I may interrupt, just one other thing. So private sector is very important to us. And one of our business, I've been talking about business targets throughout my responses, but another important business target for us is to achieve 50% private sector financing of all our approvals by 2030.
That's perfect. Yeah.
Okay.
And I have a great news that also with the efforts of Bahrain team, we've really managed to control the COVID situation. I think Bahrain is now emerging towards the post-COVID stage. It's getting more advanced. I really thank all the team who worked on that. And this is actually leading me to the team from Bahrain here. I want to ask you, all of you here, a question, which is basically, on the other hand, Bahrain is acknowledged as region financial capital. It has built solid financial services sector comprised of around 400 local and regional and global financial institutions. Moreover, the kingdom progressive regulatory environment ensured the region's longest established financial center and remain its most innovative. How can Bahrain financial sector play a role in the technology-enabled infrastructure opportunity? And I will start with Razi.
Okay, so that's an interesting question. If you look at the technology in the financial sector overall, it has migrated from becoming was a support division, becoming a digital lead, or even a business driver at some point. And I think COVID also showed some of this, that how dependency on technology becomes more and more important in the financial industry. In fact, we've seen the growth in the digital transactions in Bahrain growing over 1,000% in the pandemic, and that gives puts more pressure on the financial institutes to deliver and to give the digital offering and services to our customers. I think also, we've highlighted this before, but I'll highlight it again, because we are a technology literate population, people adopt technology quite fast. And that's why we've seen the growth in the digital transactions in the last 2 years. It became really, really substantial. This puts more pressure on the financial sector, and even banks specifically for us, is to grow and be more agile with our services. Now, cloud plays a big role in being agile, because if you're gonna go with the classical I would say data centers, this will be an obstacle or a challenge for any bank to catch up, or even to play a leading role when it comes to digital offering. Now, moving to cloud as well means that there should be regulations, there should be some rules, and there should be some guidelines on what to do. Luckily for us, our regulatory environment adopted to cloud really quick. The rule books have been, changed and updated to adopt and accept cloud. We have as my colleague Mr. Adel as well highlighted, that we have cybersecurity, we have information security frameworks available. At the same time, having the Bahrain data protection law as well, that helps us to move to the cloud in I would say following best practices or following international standards. All of that helps the community or the financial community to move into being more, I would say, technology enabled institutes. Now, with the having a data center within a bank should not be our bread and butter as IT. So I think I'm talking as IT in a bank, and that's why I'm thinking about it every time. But I don't want to be busy with managing data centers and what to do with it. I should be more focused on my business, focusing on how can I help and how can I enable my business to offer more services. So moving to cloud became a necessity now. And actually, we've seen the adoption to cloud becoming even faster and faster in the last 2 years as well, especially when we talk about about it within the banking community.
And don't you agree with me, Razi, that you are now focusing on the what, not the how?
Exactly, and actually
to the point.
I think we reach a point to say, okay, what's stopping you from doing it, or why are you doing it now? Why are you taking it?
Exactly,
taking a longer time to do it. So
exactly.
So
exactly.
We don't see the obstacles more than whether we see that it is actually possible, but it's up to us on how we can do it.
Exactly. And I will move to Adel Galaf. Mr. Adel, you've actually proven to the market that you can do the what in a very short time. Can you share with us that experience?
Yes, definitely. National Bureau for Revenue, it is the tax authority in Bahrain. It is a newly established in 2018, October 2018. And as a commitment with the GCC countries, we should introduce the VAT and we should implement the VAT by January 2019. So to
very short period, huh?
Yeah, very short period to build the system and to buy the infrastructure. It is very, very critical for us. But with the cloud first policy, with the technology, the cloud technology that we have here in Bahrain, we could launch our system in very fast period. We launched the first module of our system in March 2019. So without the I think without the cloud, without the good infrastructure in Bahrain, we couldn't do that. We couldn't reach this level. We couldn't meet our commitment with the GCC countries.
Excellent, excellent. Dr. Khalid, I think you've been always, and I left actually you to be the third person to be asked in this area. I mean, what you've been doing at IGA and in general and Bahrain infrastructure, why you are like focusing on that area? What's the drive behind it? Please.
Okay, I think that the triggers for this big change that happened in Bahrain was to look at how we can build an environment that will help us to adopt advanced technology, but at the same time, it will be an eco-friendly and optimized in terms of cost. And Bahrain has been leading countries when it comes to digital transformations. And we have been ranking in top 20s in the UN rankings when it comes to e-government services. This has generated capabilities with the team and generate also a willingness to adopt new technologies. This is why I think that Bahrain is a country that stimulates innovation opportunities. And you will see across the globe that Bahrain positioned themselves as a regional ICT centers, centers that can be used in order to prove a concept when it comes to ICT. Because we do, as a nation, we do own the pillars that will help any investor in order to start a new technology. So we have a very mature regulatory framework that will think smart and will always open the door to opportunities and will unlock any challenges and barriers. We do have the capability when it comes to the people, and we do think that people and the team is the first things that we have to keep capable and ready. We do have also excellent leaders that support any new ideas and any innovative direction. And I think one of our success factors for our initiative was the support of our leaders. When you have this support, then you know that all these dreams that come in their mind will happen one day, because they give you really the full support. And this is what happened when we introduced the cloud first policy. I don't see that there was no challenge. No, there was a big challenge and a big resistance, but we have proven that Bahrain is a country that can overcome these challenges by support of their leaders.
Interesting. Thank you, Dr. Khalid. I think this is excellent. And I will go back to Razi. Razi, Dr. Khalid mentioned a kind of resistance. What do you think the new generation in Bahrain, the newcomers who are joining the financial sector or joining government sectors, how do you think their perception now is like? Are they still thinking about the technology in the old-fashioned way, or they are very well, forward thinkers? Please.
No, absolutely. They're absolutely forward thinkers. They always give us new challenges, and the way that they look at banking now is completely different than the older generation. They want everything on their mobile. They want everything available on the spot. They don't want to wait in queues. They don't want the process to take a few hours, and sometimes they don't want it even to take a few minutes. So we've seen that the demand on technology is growing bigger and bigger, and people have started the world is getting smaller with the internet, and people start comparing banks or even technologies across the world now, and they keep coming to us, why don't you do this or why don't you do that? And some actually, we've reached a point where some people giving us some ideas about how we should handle our products and services. So absolutely, we see the growth and demand on technology grows bigger and bigger.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Interesting. Thank you very much. And if I may say, last word from Mr. Najib, if you want to say, the final recommendation for our guests here. And
I think that's a tough one to answer. But what I'd like to say is I'd like to highlight what Dr. Khalid, Mr. Razi, and Mr. Adil have been talking about in response to your last question. I think what the government in Bahrain and all the affiliated partners are doing is establishing a technology-enabled infrastructure ecosystem, and I think that's the key for banks and multilaterals like AIIB to allocate capital in a smart and efficient manner. So I think what the government of Bahrain is doing is creating an ecosystem where people can come in and invest and make it easier for people to invest and partner with their infrastructure partners. So I think that's what I would like to say. Comment that's very, very good. And we hope to find more and more opportunities. Like I also said earlier, it's the best way to work together is actually work together and work on infrastructure projects. So let's do that more, and hopefully we'll learn from yourselves, and hopefully we'll be able to also share some of our experience from other regions in the world.
Bahrain is also, Mr. Najib, thank you very much. Bahrain is also not only a good station, but also a good jumping stone to the region in different areas. So you can have a perfect stepping stone area from here. Razi, last word.
I think that thank you so much for this opportunity. And as I said, you know, whenever I look at Bahrain and whenever I look at the size and the amount of technology that we have and the time that we take to have the technology here makes me more excited. You know, I've studied technology, so you know, and I've worked in IT, so technology is always a hobby for me. So I always get into, you know, excited about seeing a new technology gets adopted in Bahrain. And every time when I look at something in the world, and as I keep saying how long it will take to be in Bahrain, I get shocked that, you know, within a very short period of time, we see that Bahrain has already started implementing it and not only talking about it. So I look forward to see, you know, these kind of you know, engagements happening in the financial industry specifically, and to see how the technology will grow there.
Perfect. Mr. Adil Gallaf, last word.
Yeah, I would like to thank you for this session. My last word is that we will continue using the cloud services. We will try our best to maximize the usage, to make it more cost optimistic, and to be the leader in the region among all the government entities.
Yeah, perfect. And Dr. Khaled, if you have.
Thank you, Abdullah. It has been a great pleasure to be part of this panels. I would like just to say that Bahrain is a welcoming country when it comes to digital transformation. As a nation, we are committed to continue this mission to promote competitive and efficient digital marketplace. We will continue investing in our people in order to have a professional and passionate team. When it comes to regulation, we are very transparent and fairness to give opportunity for everyone. We adhere very much to quality of service, and we always explore opportunity, in particular opportunity associated with the fourth industry and emerging technologies. Thank you, Abdullah.
Perfect, Dr. Khaled. And with this, I open the floor for our participants. Please feel free to ask any question. This is a great opportunity. We're having a great team over here, experienced panelists, led by all those knowledge and experiences. So please feel free to ask any question, and we'll be more than happy to get the answer from the experts. So if there's any question, I'll be more than happy to share it.
I think there's a question for Mr. Najib. Yeah, in the chat. Yes.
Question for Mr. Najib. If you can just look at it. The question is saying, Mr. Najib, currently, what is the importance of ESG factors in your investment strategy? And have you seen the narrative changes in the past 5 to 10 years?
So ESG is, I mentioned earlier, is core to what we do. So environment and social risk management is key to all our projects. It's one of our thematic priorities. So when we talk about financing sustainable infrastructures, the infrastructure has to be sustainable from an environmental, social, and economic perspective. And that's been core to our approach to financing infrastructure from inception. So it evolves as we get into new lines of business. So we have from debt, we've progressed to capital markets and to equity on lending through financial institutions. So the ESF framework that AIIB has been evolving over time, depending on the sector that we're looking at, but the core, its importance has not changed.
All right. Again, just a quick reminder, please, for all our guests and participants, please pass the questions and answers in the Zoom. If you can see it down there on your right hand, you'll see Q&A. You can press there and write down your question. And I have a next question is from here, which says that what is the next IGA what's next in IGA mind for as the government entities to move towards maximize our investment in cloud, leveraging what's already been achieved with regards. And this is, I think, for Dr. Khalid.
Yes, thank you, Abdullah, and thank you, Yasin, also for asking this question. I think that the government of Bahrain has already spent more than 3 years migrating to cloud, and I believe that's now the future. We will not be talking about migration. We'll be talking about how we can utilize the power of the cloud in order to introduce innovative services. And here, as I mentioned before, here now the opportunity that we are exploring, the opportunity to utilize the fourth industrial emerging technology, name it, Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, big data. Now, these are the projects that it will be music to our ears to hear about it. Yes, in 2017, the migration of a website was an important project for us, but not anymore. Now we are established on the cloud. We are a nation that adopting the clouds. Now we want to see how we can leverage the power of the cloud and how we can leverage the power of the big data available on the governments, and how we can transform this big data into a revenue generations asset for the governments. So I think that you will hear the next project and the upcoming forward directions will be how we can leverage the power of the cloud utilizing advanced and emerging technologies.
Okay, I have a question. Thank you, Dr. Khalid. I think this is excellent. There is a question from Sayyid Mahmoud, and I will split it into two. He's asking about Kingdom of Bahrain adapting, and he's directing the question to Dr. Khalid about adapting blockchain technology within our services. Since we are already going into cloud, services are available online, blockchain already part of the emerging technologies which we are talking about. So where do you see Kingdom of Bahrain moving toward? And I want to see also Razi, if you're taking this also serious in terms of, if you're taking this serious in terms of also the private sector, banking. Dr. Khalid, let's answer them quick so we can go also, we can get chances for others also.
Well, we are, when it comes to blockchains, we are still on the proof of concept stage. We do have 3 running proof of concept now in education sectors and in the Ministry of Interior's sectors and in the land registry as well. This is still a proof of concept, but we believe also that there will be a big opportunity for blockchain in Bahrain, but we still explore it as an idea and explore it as an architectures. And I think the upcoming strategy will look deeply into this particular technology and will try to match the demand with the requirements to see how we can get benefits of the blockchain technology in order to fill the gaps or the needs exist on the government.
Razi?
Yeah, I think when it comes to blockchains, especially when for banking, we've seen some adoption from some of the global banks for their internal purposes using blockchain. I think it should, it's not running as fast as or adopted as fast as we expected. I think there has to be some regulations and some rules around utilizing blockchain when it comes to banking. But as I said, that it's still been utilized by some of the banks. We have it in mind, but to see it actually implemented now, I don't see it happening until we get more of like proof of concepts or case studies in the banking industry.
Perfect. With this, I think we had a good session. Time is flying so fast, so I think we're almost reaching a conclusion. And with this, I would like to thank His Excellency Mr. Nawaf Hashim Sadeh, Dr. Lujer Shuknet, Dr. Khalid Lamtawa, Mr. Razi Amin, Mr. Najib Haider, and Mr. Adil Yusuf Al-Gallaf. I thank you very much for this very informative session. And I think with this, we'll reach a conclusion for our event today. Thank you everyone for participating and attending our annual event for AIIB in the Kingdom of Bahrain. And thank you very much. And we'll see you soon in another amazing event.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. Pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you all.